Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning,
Butler.
Bill. It's good to see you're on the mend.
Yeah, you were going to be in here on Monday, and I just couldn't make it in. It was brutal.
I knew it had to be bad if you couldn't make it.
So tell me, if you would, first of all, you're doing an event. You do it every year.
Right.
It's going to be not this Sunday, but next Sunday.
22nd.
At Waterfront Grill in Herkimer.
Yes.
And it's to raise money for...
It is for the United Way of the Valley and Greater Utica. This is, I think this is like the 12th or 13th year we've done it. It's grown every year, and it's a fun event. One fee, $25. Rock donates the food, puts it out. It's available all day. You can eat as much as you want. We buy the first round of drinks. That's free, and the NFL playoff games are on TV.
Yeah.
It's just a nice, easy afternoon and a lot of nice prizes.
And there really are a ton of prizes.
Yeah.
The funniest thing of this whole event is usually I'm at this, and
You're coming this year,
and Butler and I stand up there, handing out pulling off the numbers because there's a ton of prizes that are given away.
Yeah.
And some of them are football related and trips, all this stuff that's and it, of course, benefits the United Way. But you have to see the visual of me standing there and coming up to about the ribs of Butler. He's just so tall.
It happens a lot. I usually, when they do the lineup pictures, I'm in the back row.
Always in the back row.
Yeah, right.
Jeez, I'm always in the front row. That's crazy. Okay, let's talk about what I know I built this up a little bit, but am I way off base here? I think things are bad in Albany right now.
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is I thought it was the best State of the State address I've ever heard. Yeah. I'm talking about Anthony Brindisi's, not Cuomo's.
How about that?
It is bipartisan. The governor is really asserting himself, and as I said, I think there was an article in the OD. He really put his thumb in our eye. Here's
no mention of Utica, Rome, the Valley, nothing in this speech.
Yeah, it's like this is a forbidden zone all of a sudden, and when we had everything going seemingly so well, and then, boy, they just pulled the rug out from under us. And I think Assemblyman Brindisi is very astute in asking these questions. What happened? Why are you ignoring us? And it's a good question, and we're not getting any answers. I wrote a column for the OD. Your look back and your look ahead, and that was before this nanotech thing broke. Right. And a lot of what's happened, I wrote about in that column. And I think with Calieros and what happened there was an article in the Albany paper, and I don't know if there's been any follow-through, but this consortium of these chip manufacturers that was the basis for this whole development, that seems to be unraveling. Calieros was the one that kind of brought them all together. So I don't know what the future brings, but I think we're owed some conversations and some discussion.
There is an unraveling, it seems.
Yes.
And this mess is just but there is something to be said for so at this point Preparar has not been able to get his hands on the governor. So one would say, well, the governor was smart. He kept his distance. He was too smart to get caught and involved in any of this wrongdoing. But isn't there something?
He's innocent.
or that's a possibility.
That he's innocent? No. I'm saying that he remained innocent, but he's too smart for that. I'm saying that's okay. I will acknowledge the governor is innocent. Let's say the governor is innocent.
Okay.
But there is something to be said for the people you surround yourself with. He is guilty in that regard.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think if you're a chip manufacturer, a reputable company, are you going to want to get involved with that whole situation? And the governor is very hands-on. He's a central part of what was supposed to have happened here. And all these other projects. He's in the middle of it. I think he's been a little bit out front in his announcements, not only here but throughout.
Exaggeration of the number of jobs that are coming seems to be a trend here.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not just here. This has happened all over the state.
Yeah.
So you tell somebody 3,500 jobs are coming. I have to tell you something. Don't be surprised if they remember that number. Right? That number's going to sit in your head. You're going to think about that number. That's a big number.
But Bill, that having been said, the energy and just the change in attitude here in the whole Mohawk Valley when that was going on. I think we proved to ourselves that with the right motivation and the right things going on, we can make some positive changes. So that could happen. What I want to say, and of course I'm very laudatory of Mr. Brindisi and the things he's been doing and saying. They're very much what I believe. We've got a new guy, Brian Miller, in the Assembly.
I like Brian a lot.
We get along very well. So we now have in the Mohawk Valley, I think the best team we've had. We're all on the same page.
Everybody's
all
working together.
Yeah. So for us in the Mohawk Valley, I think there have been some positive developments, and I don't think we ought to forget that.
All right, Andrew.
At the State of the Mohawk Valley, if you would, Bridget McKinley asked Assemblyman Brindisi what's being done to help the Valley, Herkimer County. That's who you represent. Do you kind of fear that with a kind of ignoring of Utica and Rome, that it's even further still going to be a cause for Herkimer County?
I think in the governor's mind, we're a regional operation here. So
well, the plan
what affects you and certainly affects us.
The plan has been built that don't look at the borders. Think of Oneida County and Herkimer County and Madison County as one. And so when Marcy gets hurt, when Rome gets hurt,
right.
So then does the Valley.
Absolutely right. But you saw people investing in new apartment buildings, lofts, restaurants, and just things starting to really get in and moving in the positive direction. And
we hit
the wall.
We need to move in the right direction, and that is let's focus on, and you can see it on TV. If you really wonder where the money is, watch television. Watch your nightly news.
Right.
Every commercial is from another retirement center. It's one retirement center after another, and you hear it on radio and television as well. I'm not being critical. What I'm saying is that's where we have a growing, aging population, a baby boomer population in this area, and that's where that's where the population is, and that's where the money is right now.
Well, Bill, sad to say, some of those commercials are beginning to sound pretty good to me. So I don't know how that's going.
Mark, you don't have to mow the lawn.
No
have
mowing,
to shovel.
no shoveling, and a happy hour every day, every afternoon.
Hours.
So I think that's right up your alley. We could have a blast with this. So
I just want to say, I think one of the things that will influence in this session, and I've said it before, but elections have consequences. That's the old cliche, and I think one of the consequences of Mr. Trump's election is I believe our governor now feels he's the flag bearer for the progressive movement in our country, and not our
Bernie
state.
Sanders into
the optic with Bernie Sanders said it all. He's the flag carrier for the progressive movement. I think that's going to result in legislation that we're going to get. I think it's going to be a very combative year in the Assembly. We start off with this free tuition for college. And who's going to say providing for education?
No doubt about it. Right.
But,
how are you going to pay for it?
Yes, you go back to the SAFE Act. It's a unilateral decision. The governor's view of a three-part government is me, myself, and I. If you'd had vetting, I had someone who made a wonderful suggestion, and I'm going to carry it with me to Albany. Rather than free tuition, how about when these kids graduate, significant tax breaks for those who are educated and stay here and get a job in New York State. Our problem is we spend significantly on education in New York. I don't think we have anything to be ashamed of. The problem is we provide wonderful educations through our great SUNY system and through our elementary and secondary. These kids graduate, the U-Haul's in their dorm driveway ready to take them to North Carolina or California. We've invested in their future,
and they go out
somebody
elsewhere.
else benefits from that investment.
All right, there's the OD today, by the way, in their editorial saying, listen, don't be talking about free tuition when you're not taking care of the seniors and you're cutting back on seniors.
Well,
right
I mean, we've been shortchanging our K through 12, our schools routinely over the years. And now all of a sudden we finally eliminated the GEA, and then the next year, let's give money away for college. Again, I think it speaks to your motivation. If he'd have done it as you would normally do legislation, have hearings, vet it, talk about it.
Yeah.
What about veterans? How are they included in this? Could it be graduated? Those kinds of questions.
A lot needs to be addressed. I want to sit tight, Assemblyman Marc Butler. I want to bring in Senator Jim Seward. Jim, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill and Mark. How are you?
Good morning, Senator.
I want to bring you back to Jim. I want to just look at the timeline that this governor has and follow his career as governor. Started out, he was someone that even Republicans, as business owners, were looking at and saying, "I got to tell you, I think this guy is cleaning things up. He's tough. He went after the teachers union. He did things. He almost seemed like a moderate." He could have been a Republican. He could have been a Democrat. Then out of nowhere, the SAFE Act comes into play. And since then, we have progressed to where we are today, and he brings Bernie Sanders in. It's an interesting progression this governor has taken during his tenure here.
No question, Bill. In the early days of the governor's tenure, particularly on the financial issues, we had a lot of common ground. We had to take steps to clean up our act, shall we say, in state government, and we had the spending cap of 2% in terms of growth. We did the property tax cap and holding spending in check, that type of thing. And then you're absolutely right. In more recent years, the governor's taken a decided turn to the left, trying to out-progressive some of these others in his party that he's seen across the country. And I think that was culminated with bringing Bernie Sanders in a couple of weeks ago to promote this, free college for everyone within under $125,000 in income. And obviously, college affordability is a big issue. I mean, that's been a priority of mine, and certainly from the Senate side. But there is, there are ways to get there without just saying, "Hey, free college."
Right. What do you make of the snub the governor has given to our part of upstate New York?
Well, I was very disappointed in that. Number one, nothing the governor is promoting is can happen without, he's got to work with the legislature. And talk about a snub to the Mohawk Valley, he's also snubbed the legislature. Yeah. Traditionally, we have the the state message, and the legislature's there, and we hear it, and then we react to it, and then we start to try to work things out in some reasonable way. That's been the pattern. This year, he sent us, I guess, yesterday a list of his proposals, in terms of what he's presented to the legislature. But other than that, I mean, he's run around to I think 6 different locations around the state. Not the Mohawk Valley, not the North Country or the Southern Tier. It would seem to me, the governor has every right to go across the state and promote his programs and so on. That's part of the job, no question. But if you're going to do that, why not do it in each? If he set up these 10 different regions, for economic development, these regional councils and so on. Yep. Why not have at least one appearance in each of these various regions? Because, quite frankly, we were left out, and I didn't hear. Even when he appeared in Syracuse and Albany, right around us, I didn't hear much at all about the Mohawk Valley in terms of what our needs and our concerns are.
So where are we going? Where are we going to? I mean, I'm hearing we could be looking at a budget that's going to end up being very late this year. What are your thoughts?
Well, I hope that's not the case. There's obviously. There's a different tenor, in attitude at the Capitol. I think you're going to find the legislature, both houses, quite frankly, exerting its rightful place as a branch of government, state government, and we want to have our say, and hopefully. There is a time for obviously competition. We just went through a very contentious election cycle, and but there is a time to govern, and hopefully we can still sit down and come up with some things that make sense, for the people of our region and our state, and get some things done. I'm not going to say at this point we're going to have a late budget or unproductive session. I hope springs eternal. But the governor's going to have to sit with the legislature and work things out with us, and because we are the voice of the people. We come from each of our districts. We reflect the views of our districts. That's got to be part of the equation when it comes to making policy and legislation going forward. That's all we're saying from the legislative side. We want to have our voice and heard and be part of the process on behalf of our constituents. I
got to say, usually when the governor does his State of the State, there's a day or two of stories out there about these pie-in-the-sky proposals that are put out there. But he's been able to linger this thing and draw it out because he's going from location to location. I mean, the news today is legalization of recreational marijuana. It's the stop when you're at a stoplight, you can't. He's proposing you won't be able to use your phone. All of these little things that grab the news and are taking the spotlight off any of the corruption, the pre-Ferrara stuff that's been going on over the last year.
Well, no question. I'm sure the governor would like to change the subject because the people right around him, are facing some pretty serious charges, and unfortunately, it appears that has had an impact in our region as well. With the AMS pullout of the Marcy project, we're as a state legislative delegation, we're working with the Empire State Development to try to bring in a substitute company because even though that's not part of my district over in Herkimer County, but it's of regional significance.
Sure, it affects everything.
And we've got to try to salvage that.
Yeah.
And I would love to have had the governor come into this region as part of his statewide tour, and talk to us and the people of this region to reassure us that
that everything
is being made to bring in a substitute company here, so we can get back on track.
Well, especially with all of the investment that's been done there, Jim. We appreciate your time. I am out of time, but Jim Seward, thanks so much, and Happy New Year.
Well, Bill, Happy New Year to you, and it's going to be an interesting year. I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to chat about the events going forward, and we'll look forward to that.
Thanks so much,
well,
Jim
he's
Seward.
Quite a talker, isn't he?
Jim, thank you, Jim.